Interwoven, Neurodiversity and the Creative Mind is a project that explores the link between our creative processes and our neurodiverse minds and how those two things interlink. I was diagnosed with ADHD about 7 years ago now. Unbeknownst to me, I've been developing techniques to manage my condition. Crochet is the key medium that I've been working with in this project. That was born out of strategies to help manage my hyperactivity. So whilst we sit in these craft workshops, craft circles, making all together, I'm passing along my techniques, my knowledge, and we're all sharing our stories.
This workshop is actually the first place I've been that's been openly for neurodiverse people. I saw it and I was like, oh, finally a community. I actually got quite emotional about it because I've never had any community like that before. I think it's so much easier talking in a group when you're also doing something, because then you don't have to worry about gestures or eye contact. You can just, everyone's focused.
Crocheting via the embroidery hook and learning the other different techniques has been really useful that I'll start incorporating in my practice. But I think the most informal thing is the conversations that we are having. I wish we had conversations like this in school and not make it feel so specialised or so sectioned. And hearing the different experiences, it's like, oh, I can relate to this, I don't relate to this, but I feel like I need to understand to be a better person and to be more empathetic in certain situations.
So I've devised the Interwoven workshops in collaboration with the CSM Museum, working directly with Sarah Campbell, one of the museum's curators. We worked together to find objects from the CSM Museum collection, archive pieces that explored the topic of neurodiversity. We didn't know if the makers, the artists or designers were specifically neurodiverse. They hadn't disclosed that when they submitted the work, but the subjects they were exploring were very resonant. They were very connected to hypersensitivity or overwhelm or different ways of processing the world around us.
We deliberately picked works which would kind of spark off a lot of ideas and allow people to access the issue of neurodiversity on their own terms. The conversations have all been great and very open and welcoming, and I think for us as tutors as well, it's allowed us to open up and have more of a personal stance on that as well. So it's felt like quite a supportive environment and a very nice way to teach, really.
My neurodiverse status is recently diagnosed, and it was not a really big thing, but it was explained a lot of things in my life. I was like, oh, that's why I'm like that. From the CSM Museum archive, I think the use of materials is really important. So many creative ways that people have used materials, like shells, metal, and it just wasn't ways that I thought of before. And also really interesting jewelry and kind of pieces on the body, exploring kind of the boundaries.
So day 2 of the workshop, we managed to get a collaboration with the Story Garden, and it was important to me that we changed space, changed location throughout the workshop. Whilst we were in the space, we occupied the polytunnel, which is an amazing space surrounded by vegetables drying, and Rufus taught coiling. It was great to be a participant in the workshop as well and sort of see it from the perspective of the students.
I'm on the kind of neurodiverse spectrum, and I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and so I've been currently exploring different avenues of kind of support within that structure and also exploring it within my own practice. I wish I had something like this when I was on my foundation course or really early on, just because it would really open up the ideas quite early on to exploring these avenues of support, but also ways of working. I think maybe just a basic level of understanding for members of staff would be really valuable. It would improve the learning of their students with neurodiversity, but also all the students across the board. And it's something that's definitely becoming more prevalent and would just kind of lead to a more valuable learning experience.
I think it's interesting that we have so much in common, and I think it was very eye-opening for me seeing us at different stages in our life to do with the actual medical side of it, so getting diagnoses or just speculating. But despite those differences between us, we all found things in common.
I really like what Chris was saying about removing barriers to people with neurodiversities. And I think that connects a lot with kind of architectural ideas about when you're building something very literally, you're including and excluding some people. This thing of doing it with other people is also very important because it means that you just acknowledge that you're kind of dependent and connected on each other in these processes, and that maybe the kind of mediating thing of the object in that dependency is a kind of allows more things to be said.
So the next stages of the project, I intend to expand on the workshop programme. I want to take it into communities, have further outreach, so I can bring it to people that maybe are outside of traditional institutions, outside of school, outside of college. Maybe they don't have such easy access to creative processes. I'm developing large-scale forms at the moment that will be exhibited next year at the CSM Gallery. So there's lots of exciting new developments and collaborations that are going to be coming very soon.